And since it's just a few of us, I'm going to try to keep the lecture to a minimum. We'll just do more questions if that works. So just to real quick go over kind of like week 6. So this week actually is, I would kind of consider it slightly lighter week because most of this stuff is not so much conceptually challenging. It's really just more like, I'll be honest, like I still Google much of this information and it's readily available because it's all about functions. so so in week 6, we're focusing on functions and specifically lots of different functions that apply to um, various different data types. Obviously, like you can't really, divide a date, so to speak. So lots of different kind of data types come with different functions, which you'll read about. So like for the exercise, the first one says write a query that returns the 17th through the 25th characters of the string. Please find the subquery in this string. And so, like we can use like the substring function, which is highlighted in the book. And the nice thing is it kind of makes it easy, 17 through 25th. So you can just kind of like throw that in there. So nothing too crazy. I don't think with any of these, nothing too crazy there. Basic functions. There's only 3 of them. This actually, the exercises should be pretty quick this week, I would imagine.
I have a question about that first one.
Yep.
Can you do 17 through 25, or do you have to say, okay, it's going to be 9 characters?
So yeah, so basically you'll do it like this. Here, I'll just pull it up. We'll do that first one.
Because I did it with the 9 characters, but I just wondered if there was a way to do 17 through 25.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to, you won't do 17. Yeah, you have to kind of like do the math, so to speak.
Right.
And kind of get that. Because normally, let me copy this string. Normally, like when we do something like this, we're looking for a specific portion of a string. And I'll do an example here real quick, just because I think it'll be helpful. So if this is our string, I don't think we can necessarily use string as we'll call pre-string. So there's our first string. And then if we want to kind of do what the exercise says, we'll do substring. And then we can say our text and 17 characters. 17th character start at 9. We want this one called parsed. So there is our, anyway, there's basically the solution. Now, like we just talked about, most of the time, they kind of say like, oh, this starts at character 17, which happens to be the S, and we're going to count, 9 characters. Or sorry, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're just pulling out the word substring out of this. Now, that works, but most of the time, like we're doing something like this where I can say select, I'm just going to throw my name in here because a lot of times, like when we're pulling data, you know, especially from third parties, they might have their data to where, the name is full, but maybe we want to separate those for obvious reasons. We can do the substring function really is quite nice because we can look for the space. So like in this case, we would say substring, there's our text. And then for the start character, what we do is we use another function called locate. And using the same string, we are looking for a space. And that will act as our first character. And I guess in this case, we actually start from the beginning. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. Let's do the first name first. So first name. We're going to start at character 0, and we're going to read up until a certain like character, in this case, a space. Now, we can't necessarily just say, oh, read up until the character. So what we do is we can essentially build out like with a couple functions. I always like this use case because it lets us see a whole bunch. So MySQL length. So what we can do is we can get the length of the string. Length of the string. But what we want to do is we want to minus so many characters. So we're going to say minus locate. And then we're going to look for that space. And let's call that first name. Oh, and it looks like I did something wrong. So the length minus the locate. So let's just break that apart. Let's do locate the name. It's probably just because I'm missing something in that locate function. Oh, yes, I already know what it is. This one's just a little bit different. The locate is backwards. Don't ask me why, it gets me every time. There we go. So now we're getting 7. So theoretically, the length so 12 minus 7 would be 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5. Sorry. Yes. 5. So this should, we take a look, substring. That set. There's that set. So we're taking the length minus 4. Oh, and this still got programmer brain on. There we go. There we go. Okay. So you can see how we can kind of use like a variety of functions together, compounds. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the length of the string, which is 12, and then I am subtracting from that basically the characters. The length that we want to go is really just the length of the rest of the string plus 1. They're the difference. So in this case, I'm taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to basically subtract these 6 characters. And then that way we're just left with the first name. And then for the last name, we do something similar, but this one's actually a little easier because we can use, instead of using the start of the string as our start parameter, we use the locate here. And because this one's a little easier because we just start at the end, or we go to the end, we can just simply say, you know, whatever the rest is. So let's do, and really in this case, we can really just say the length of the whole string. We just want to make it easy. There we go. So not too bad. There also is a function, I believe. Maybe they don't have this one in MySQL. let's try it. I don't know if this one is support, but we are going to try it. What was that one called? Split apart. Not sure if this one's recognized, to be honest. I don't think it is, but yeah, I didn't think it would. Okay, so we will just say that that's the solution. There are some that have like a nice little thing where you can split the string on a delimiter and say, oh, do you want the first, second, third, whichever index you're looking for. So like in this case, we would say, I thought for sure that I thought they maybe had one. That doesn't have any votes. MySQL string split function. Let's look. Let's look at our list of string functions. And what I like about these is the official documentation is probably one of my favorite places to go because it has this organized just like this. So then I can come here and look for split, which it doesn't have it. Return a substring from oh, here we go. Okay, so this is what we were looking for. So delimiter, so substring index. So if I wanted to cheat a little bit from our previous solution, we can do substring index. Let's use this, and then I'm looking for a space, and I want the first side of it. We'll call that first two. So you can see that one's just a little bit easier. And then we're just going to take this, copy it again. And this time we don't have to change anything except for say, instead of the first half, I want the second. Oh, but that one actually didn't work. Let's see. Oh, before the specified number of occurrences. Let's take a look at this. Negative. That's what we're looking for. So in this one, if we want the one after, we'll say -1 to get the first after. There we go. Perfect. So anyways, lots of fun functions, and just so you know, like you don't need to commit them all to memory. I certainly don't. As you can see, I like to go to the documentation and search because especially once you, I mean, we're learning MySQL in the course, but when you like, unless you're taking a certification exam, if you're taking a certification exam, you'll want to memorize them. But if you're not, odds are you're going to be learning a lot of different ones. And although SQL is largely the same across products, like Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, Postgres, the functions will vary. Some are the same, some are a little different in how they work, what they're named, and so that's why I end up Googling them a lot because I actually work with quite a few. So trying to keep them all straight is a little weird. So anyways, that's kind of some of those string functions. There's lots of functions like date functions, etc. But they all should be pretty explanatory, especially where the documentation around functions is so good. And they're very straightforward because functions, like they're named, just perform a function. So you give them what they need and they kind of spit something back out. So nothing too crazy there. But anyways, any questions about functions that you want me to hit before we get too crazy? All right. Any questions from you two about final projects or anything like that? Anything you want to cover? All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm far enough into it to have intelligent questions yet.
Got it. All right. Yeah, cool. And just as an FYI, for this week, if you're doing the final, we should be to a point where the ERD is probably getting closer to being done, if not already, and starting into like your UI map, your test cases, and kind of the order of operations I would go is I probably would do the wireframe first simply because I think it helps kind of like catch any problems. So I would kind of like do a wireframe and then you kind of like start building your test and CRUD statements after that. So that way you're kind of thinking like, oh, did I miss anything? And so on and so forth. And I'm gonna actually post a video recording from last term where I walk through that whole process. And I think we've actually already done that this term, but just to make sure, because I know the one that I did last term was pretty extensive. So I'll post that as well as an example of my UI map. So yeah, so those should be coming over with the announcement of the recording. But anyways, if you're not done with your ERD and you kind of want to, if you're stuck, feel free to just shoot it over to me. Send your .mwb file on Teams or shoot me an email or send it over Canvas, inbox or whatever the messaging tool is there. More than happy to take a look, happy to kind of like give you some guidance, kind of get you there because we kind of want to get that portion polished up. So anyways, if you want to do that, feel free. But otherwise, yeah, good luck this week and let me know if anything comes up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.